Well, hello, hello. How is everybody doing tonight? It is Thursday. The work week is almost over, which I don't actually, I work, but not like an outside job. YouTube is, I don't want to say YouTube is my job because it's not my job, but I will say like making videos and stuff like that is work, but it's not YouTube is not like my career path. Hi, LFT. Hey, Scout Inquirer. Hey, Tony. Hey, Ruth. How you guys doing? Pointer Lover, good to see you guys. If you haven't done so already, would you just do me a favor while we just kind of go over a little quick synopsis of what's going on and what we're doing and all of that? Give your girl a thumbs up. It helps to keep me in the get me in the algorithm so that y'all get notified when I go live. If you're new to my channel, which most of you guys are not, you guys are all my regs. But if you are new, let me just tell you how it works over here at the ward. Okay. I have a very snarky, dry sense of humor. And when I am watching trials, there are times when either a witness, the judge, one of the prosecuting attorneys, or one of the defense attorneys, or hell, sometimes even the defendant themselves do something that I find comical and I do remark on it. I just want everybody to know that I'm remarking on the comedy in the moment. I do understand the crimes are serious, that they involve victims, and that these crimes, the crime or the trial we're covering tonight, is particularly heinous because it involves the allegation that a father murdered his wife and his son, which I was talking to somebody in the comment section today on the channel, and they were, saying that they weren't sure that, hey, Kate, how you doing, babe? That Murdaugh had I think he used the word, he or she used the word pebbles. I used the word stones to do this, to pull this off by himself. And I've been thinking a lot about it because I have been, thinking a lot about it because, okay, I am anti murder. Like, I'm not pro murdering people. I don't think that that is the solution to anybody's problem, but it is against the natural order of things for a parent to unalive their child because, hello, your primary function as a parent is to keep your child alive, right? Like that's got to be at least in the top 10 there, right? Of things to do as a parent, as a requirement in your job as a parent is to keep the child alive, right? So it goes against the natural order of things. Whereas with a spouse, it's still wrong, but it's not quite as against the natural order of things, as it were. And when the defense attorney spoke about Paul's body and what occurred, it just seemed so much more personal. It seems as though he was really the main intended target. And I sort of think that the remarks, which we're going to hear today, that Alec made to the responding officer, the first responding officer on the officer's body cam footage, where he almost immediately starts talking about this boating accident that Paul has, was involved in, and that, he's being punched at school, and, they've had threats, but they didn't take them seriously and all that business. So I do think that the crime was set up in such a way that it looks as if Paul is the intended target. And I think that he actually was the primary intended target. If he had been the only intended target and Maggie was there and just in the wrong place at the wrong time, I find that to be completely unrealistic. There would have been plenty of opportunities for somebody if it was really an act of revenge, as Alec is trying to convince law enforcement that that's what's going on, that they would have gotten Alec by him or Paul by himself. There, he, whatever. But anyway, then there's the other thing that is going to come up towards the end of the day to today's testimony. But I had a thought about it, and you guys know how scatterbrained I am. So if I don't say it now, it will go directly out of my head and be lost for everybody. Hey, Shanada, what's up? So the defense is making this huge deal, really, and it goes on kind of through all of the testimony today, but they're really saying, implying, and sort of saying it outright that they believe that that law enforcement made up their mind very quickly, almost immediately, that Alec Murdaugh and Alec Murdaugh alone was the only person who committed these crimes, and that they essentially had tunnel vision. And they used this press release as an example of that. Essentially, the press release, which was like the murders occurred on June 7th of 2021, and on June 8th, 2021, there was a press release, and it essentially said, that everybody doesn't have anything to fear, that there's not some maniac on the loose just going around on a spree, right? Essentially is what they say. And that is their evidence that that law enforcement, detectives, etc., targeted and kept laser focused on Alec Murdaugh to the exclusion of even attempting to look at other suspects. But I will say the counterpoint to that, and it's a very good argument in my opinion, you guys let me know what you think, would be that if law enforcement, because Alec said almost immediately, he referenced this boat accident, and that he totally feels like that is the reason that this is an act of revenge, then that would mean that the threat to the general public would be non-existent. So couldn't it also be argued that perhaps law enforcement was believing that this was a personal targeted attack? That doesn't necessarily mean that they were laser focused and had tunnel vision and only considered Alex Murdaugh to be the only suspect. And the truth of the matter is, one of the reasons that they reopened Stephen Smith's and Gloria Satterfield's cases is because they were looking for other suspects, because they were working the potential this is an act of revenge motive. But let's see how that plays out. Yes. Oh, no, Kate. Bless your heart. I hope you feel better. Well, I was watching LFT. I was watching Law and Crime today, as I do. And of course, I was, looking at the chat, and there were quite a bit of locals in the chat, or there were people that said that they were locals. I should say that's a better way to put it, because low-key, I can't verify whether they're local or not. But anyway, they were basically saying that honestly, they think that he's going to walk, because people are very afraid of that family. And just because just because Alec is, even if he were to be found guilty, it does not stop the reach that his family has in that town. That was basically their argument, which I mean, I can't say that I understand it. Like, I get it. I mean, that family has like deep roots in that town. So, hold on just a second. I should have had this pulled up earlier, but you know me, I'm the worst. Let me just do it like this. I'm the world's worst typer. we go. So I'm just going to be skipping around a little bit tonight. I don't intend to be on too terribly long. I was going to have everybody after, hey, Michelle, how you doing, babe? I was going to have everybody go over to Kate's because I thought Kate was going to be doing her live tonight, but her mouth is hurting, and so I don't think she's gonna. So, but we'll figure it out. But I didn't intend to be more than like an hour and a half because I I was under the impression, as were most people in the chat this morning, that they were going to be showing the body cam, but they did not. And I'm guessing, oh my God, why did I do that? I'm guessing that the reason that they didn't is because I think that they were concerned. I mean, obviously, these officers were arriving at a very brutal crime scene, and I think that they just did not feel that they could be quick enough with the cameras in order to. Oh, hold on, I went too far. Also, if you guys are watching this trial during the day on Law and Crime, I want to give them a shout out because remember back in the day, which literally was a month ago, whenever they were when I was covering the Wagner trial, and there would be breaks or even lunch, and it would just, just be their Law and Crime logo. Well, they have decided that rather than just keep the Law and Crime logo up, they are going to provide entertainment during the breaks. So they've been like playing part of like some of the opening statements. They've been playing parts of motion hearings. The other day they had a panel. It's fantastic. So you get a little bit of everything. I guess I didn't go too far. I guess I didn't recognize. I will say that the Law and Crime chat, I love those people over there. They have adorable nicknames for the responding officers because they are kind of good looking, no lie. The first two of them are. And then I need to also ask you guys in chat if you know, because I've been trying to uh, find the answer to this, but I was under the impression that, oh, is it the same girl? First two questions. So, Buster Murdaugh and his girlfriend and Alec Murdaugh's sister are sitting together, the three of them, the three amigos. And to me, it looks like it's the same girlfriend that Buster had all those years ago whenever this happened. And I don't see a ring, and I just am like, bro, you haven't wifed her up yet? Like, she's really hung in there for you, sir. I mean, I don't want to tell you your business or anything, but you know, she's been really hanging in there with you. Like, you should maybe you should consider wifing her up. But the other thing is that there were a lot of people in the chat at Law and Crime that were saying that Buster is was a witness, going to be a witness, and I've never seen a murder trial or any criminal trial where they allow witnesses to be in the audience before they testify. After they testify, as long as the both parties release them from the subpoena, yeah, they can sit in the audience, but not before. So now I'm all confused, and I'm gonna have to go and do some kind of, hey, Mama Stone, good to see you. Gonna have to do some kind of I don't know, undercover, some deep dive or some crazy ass searching that I can know how to do to find out if he is in fact going to be a witness. So I just wanted to play this part real quick, because you know how I call Alec Murdaugh's lead attorney Bilbo Baggins, because he had his hand in his pocket yesterday, and it just reminded me of that part in Lord of the Rings. Not even Lord of the Rings, really The Hobbit. But anyway, I digress. Listen to what he says right here. He's just funny to me, and I don't know why. I know this is serious, but he's funny to me. All right, here we go.
Paper we can flip back and forth. So
I think I missed it. Hold on.
If somebody has some tape, give me just a minute. We're going to post under the order signed by you.
Here he comes.
All right, here we go.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the video he's about to show has, I believe he agrees, images which are under the order signed by you. And so as they're being proposed, shown, I have something or he has something. We're going to, obviously under that order, we have to disclose that to you. And if you approve the showing, we've got some logistical issues. If you give me just a minute, these monitors are, that one is not working, but this monitor is viewable from the audience, and we'd like to cover it up with some MacGyver-like device that's been developed by Mr. Waters, where you tape paper, we can flip back and forth. So
I just thought his MacGyver reference was
if somebody
very
has some
cute
tape,
early
I'd
in
like
the
to do that
morning.
before he begins, so that
Yeah.
nothing's
Let's.
shown.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So they're gonna MacGyver it up because they don't. Alex doesn't want to see the body cam footage or whatever. Okay, so then they're gonna call the officer to the stand. Any moment now. Let me just get skipping around. Remember how yesterday I said, "Oh, I'm going to be really proactive and I'm going to get the timestamps and blah blah blah." Clearly, that didn't happen. So sorry about that, you guys.
Session of court. Day number 2 of this trial. Prior opening statements. You're not allow anyone to discuss.
Yeah, we're not under the jury instruction, so we don't have to hear this part. We're allowed to talk about it. But thank you, Your Honor. This is where they call Sergeant Daniel Green. I'm not, I don't know. I don't think he's as good looking as everybody in the chat was thinking he was.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear?
I'm not, I also am not, I'm not a whole lot
trial
sure on
will be
that
the truth, so
charcoal
help you God? Thank you. You may have a
sports
seat.
jacket with the navy blue, but
Microphone so that it fits you
that's just me.
comfortably.
Oh wait, let
If
me
you'll
turn him down
state
just
your
a little
name and
bit.
spell your last name for the record.
My full name is Daniel Green. My last name is Greene.
Sergeant Green, how you doing today?
I'm good.
All right, tell us where you work.
I work for the Colleton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and your rank is sergeant, obviously, is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us just a little bit about yourself. Just give us just a little bit of your background that led you to your career in law enforcement.
I had sort of wondered that
I
as
went to
well,
school here, grew up here,
LFT.
went to college at
Why
Charleston
is it
Southern
still
University.
so loud? Why do I
I
feel
got a
like I'm
degree
having
in
to
social studies
scream?
education, taught for a little while, and then got into law enforcement. Just kind of fell into it and liked
Hold
it.
on.
And I've been here since 2014.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there,
Started with the Sheriff's
officer.
Department in 2000.
Who falls into law enforcement on accident? And like who is just like going to school, going to college, you haven't declared your major or whatnot, and you're just like, what can I do? I could be a chef, I could be 11 billion things, but I'm just gonna fall into law enforcement. Like I don't know if that's how it works so much, Officer Green, but okay, we'll let you
2014.
talk.
That's correct.
All right, and what was your first job that you did, or how does your career progress?
I started at the jail. I worked there for just over a year, and then I was moved to the road patrol. I was on road patrol for several years, moved up the ranks to sergeant, where I was a road patrol supervisor, and now I'm a detective.
Okay. When did you become detective?
Congratulations.
Earlier.
We're gonna skip forward through this. We don't need to know his credentials.
The firearm, is that
Yes.
correct?
All right, hold on. I went too far.
The screen, what did you
That incident.
from your arrival at Moselle Road and through the investigation until at some point you turned it off after it no longer needed to be on. Is that
That's correct.
All right, Your Honor, at this time I'll move to admit State's Exhibit number 1.
That clarification, that is this officer's body cam, which is a camera that's mounted on his body. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's mounted on.
Say admit it.
Who
Your
else's
Honor,
body
permission to
camera are they
publish this,
gonna?
Exhibit
Hold
2.
on a minute now.
I'll need the.
Now, sometimes I like Bilbo Baggins. Y'all know I do, and I love some good lingo wrangling. But come on, why you stand? It's too early for this, Mister. You standing up for clarification for what reason? Lord Jesus! All right, here we go. These people make my Southern come out.
I would point out that there are graphic images on this, so everybody needs to cover up their monitors, please.
Now they're going to take. Now, see, they're worried about Mr. Murdaugh over here. So the MacGyver level paper and tape combo is not enough for
Control
him.
what
They
is-
had to take a box to cover up that monitor. Now watch
Presented
what
and
Alec
published
Murdaugh does
in accordance with
next.
the court's order. The parties to police that yourselves.
We intend on screen off when he gets to the graphic images and then uncovering it.
They come pretty quickly, as you.
I remember. So Mr. Griffin's ready.
We're all ready. What's the holdup?
Yeah, stay in town. I'm heading out there.
Advise a female shot in the head.
Yeah, the bobblehead.
Son shot also.
Just
Not
wait.
breathing. Stand by for the-
I feel like it's super loud. Is it super loud for y'all? I even turned down my computer.
Sergeant Green, this is your body cam video, is that correct?
That's correct.
The first 15 minutes or so of this video are you running code, running at full speed or at least reasonable speed to get to this scene as fast as you can, is that correct?
Yes, sir. My license siren were activated so I can get there quickly.
Oh, okay.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to fast forward it until he arrives, I believe without objection. from
Hey,
the
Jenny,
defense.
good to see you. Welcome. He is ridiculous. Okay, see now what he's doing? See, this is what I like to call the Dahmer wobble. Because Tracy Edwards said that when Dahmer had him watching The Exorcist 3, Dahmer like was rocking back, rocking to himself, like rocking back and forth. Yeah. Dahmer like rocking too. I'm just saying, Alex. Now I don't know if you have anything in common with Dahmer or anything, but Dahmer was a rocker. I guess that was self-soothing. I don't know. Also, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but Alex Murdaugh does some interesting things with Kleenex. For example, he'll dab his eyes, dab his nose, which obviously your nose you're dabbing because it's snot, and then he'll dab his mouth. It's gross.
Past the driveway that I was supposed to have turned down. Like I said, everything's kind of dark out there. It wasn't clearly indicated, so.
Central, that's 4147 or 57?
4147.
But he's not even actually
just in the
rocking. He's
driveway
just
with the
bobbing
jacket
his
on,
head
it's
like
coming
he's
to
got
call.
beats on and he's listening to some good music. Like, what are you doing, sir? Come
It's
on.
got a long driveway, but the mailbox out front is labeled.
Just acting a straight
At the end of the
fool.
driveway, you might be by the house.
The correct number for 4147 Moselle?
It is.
And is that the incident location where you discovered the victims?
That's correct.
Perfect. Now let's get to it. They're going to skip forward here in a minute, but I know I'm going to miss it if I skip it. So,
I'm getting out. Let's call it now.
Copy.
yes, Jenny, he does some weird things with the Kleenex. Let me push pause real quick because I got to tell y'all something before I forget. Hold on. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this case or didn't get to watch today, where they're at is over by the kennels. Okay. And so this audio is particularly difficult for me to listen to because those dogs, that is not a bark. Like that first bark is a bark, like they're alerting that they know somebody's there, right? But it's after that, the whining that they're doing, the crying, it breaks my heart because they're clearly in distress. And I just want to go over there. And obviously I can't. First of all, I can't go back in time. Second of all, it's South Carolina. It's kind of far away. But it's hard to hear, like if you're an animal lover. So I just want to yell to brace yourselves because it's sad. All right, here we go. And we're just going to listen to a little bit of this, and then we're going to get to his cross
What did you
exam.
see right there?
To the left was Paul's body. He was laying face down on the ground, large pool of blood around him, as well as a great deal of water that was immediately around his body.
Was it that water? Was it just around? Was it down the entire kennel concrete pad, or was it mostly just?
No, you could see walking down the kennel as I got out. The closer I got to Paul's body, the more water there was.
Had it been raining enough at this point in time to wet the entire to cause that amount of water?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Objection's overruled.
Answer the question, please.
I don't recall if it had been raining a whole lot that evening, but given where the water was, it did not appear that rain had caused that water.
Yeah, Jenny, it is. You can
There
tell
is
they're
an
that they're in
objection.
distress.
If I sustain the objection, you are to then disregard the question and any responses. If I overrule the objection, then you may consider the responses and the question is deemed appropriate. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I backed it up just a little bit, apparently too far, so I'm just gonna roll from here again.
I like the assistant attorney general or the attorney general. I can't remember which one he is because he's not good at skipping either. We have that in common, sir. I used to be great at it. I used to be able to skip through the commercials. Hey, Heather, whatever.
Whiskey Fox, Whiskey Mike.
What are we seeing to the right of this image?
So on the right would be Maggie's body, also laying face down on the ground.
Look at him.
Large pool of blood around her head.
And we see an individual standing. Who is that?
The individual standing in the background would be Mr. Murdaugh.
The person you previously identified in this courtroom?
That's correct.
Hey, Gail. Good to see you,
Just to be
babe.
clear, this location that you're standing right now is in Colleton County.
I
Is that
haven't
correct?
worked
It
that
is.
quite out yet, Gail, but I suspect yes.
To let you know because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it down here.
It's in your vehicle? Do you have any guns on you at all?
Because look.
Against the side of my car.
You're fine, man. You're fine. Turn
Let
around
me
for
let me pause it and
Okay. Yes, sir. I see
take
that.
them down. I'll show you. All right, hold on. So if you look, how can I make me little? Maybe I could put me like this. No, that won't work. What if I do that? That's not right. Crap. You can kind of see it in the thumbnail where his head is. It's clearly shaved bald, but he has the shine to it that is indicative of hair loss. You know, where you've lost enough hair and you're just like, you just give up and you just shave it all.
This is your wife and son?
This looks like a toupee to me. Yes.
I noticed you shined your flashlight just a few seconds ago on
No
the black vehicle.
self-respecting
What did you shine your
hairdresser would
flashlight
allow
on
this
just
color situation to
You
be
could see
going
the
on
shotgun
either,
leaning
where
up
he
against the side of that
essentially has
vehicle.
a stripe of strawberry
Were the
blonde,
flashers
orange
on the vehicle right there in the image?
around the top,
I believe
and
so,
then
yes.
on the sides is, silver. No self-respecting hairdresser would allow that to stand. So yeah, I'm thinking it's a toupee.
This is the firearm you brought from inside the house?
Sir, yes, sir. I went and this is a long story. My son
Yes.
was in a boat wreck months back.
Months
He's
back.
been getting threats. Most stuff has been benign stuff we didn't take serious. He's been getting like punched. I know that's what it is.
Okay. When did,
Was that when you previously testified that he mentioned the boat case or the boat wreck?
That's correct. Prior to me asking him anything about it, he did mention it.
did you get home? Right when
Hey,
you called,
Kai
or
and
did you go to the
NC.
house
You
first?
know
Where
what's
is the house?
interesting
I can't
about
get out.
that is the shaving of the head of hair will not get you out of a hair test, of a drug test, because they can take hair from any part of your body. to see it. So, yes, perhaps he has been consulting with one Lori Vallow about the foods that you can purchase from the commissary that you can use as makeup, hair dye, mascara, all the things. You know how Lori Vallow likes to use hot Cheeto dust for her lipstick. I'm telling y'all, that is that exact shade. Yes, babe, it is. I'll put it in the chat real quick for you, so you don't have to go look.
First, my mom has late stages Alzheimer's, and my dad is
Too
in the
much
hospital.
detail.
I left. I don't know what time. I can go back on my phone and tell you the exact times. Did you check?
Here you go,
Did I
babe.
check what?
Did you check them?
We got medical guys that are, that's
There are
what they're
other,
gonna do, okay?
no, Heather, think lower. More in
They
the
are.
southern
Yes, sir.
states.
That gentleman that was out here already, he's one of the battalion chiefs, okay?
Right before that discussion, did Mr. Murdaugh offer to go on his phone and check?
He did. He did. He wanted to verify exactly the timing of his arrival.
Well, exactly, Kai, because let me make sure that
How
is
did you
Kai.
pull up? You
Yeah, it
from
is.
back there?
I
Because
went to the house and they weren't home, which was odd. I tried to call,
Okay,
and then I knew
It's
they
too
had
much
been down here
detail.
before I left to go to my mom's.
okay.
And so that is loaded.
Okay.
You might want to unload it. But,
Is this the only firearm with you? This is the only one, or is there any more in the truck?
I believe that's it.
You think that's the only one?
I'm 99%.
Do you normally
certain that's
have
right.
any other firearms in your vehicle?
I don't, but occasionally there.
oh, you're welcome, Olive, too, babe. No, listen, I can drop my email.
So you're
I'm
putting stuff on your hands.
competent.
What are you doing right there?
Those are just gloves so I could put on my hand to limit the contamination of any evidence.
I don't
Put
think
those
the
on
lab
before you
employees
handle the
actually
firearm.
handle
Yes.
it. I think they put it in like a centrifuge. I'm gonna let y'all listen to this part without me jabbering on
Just
over
wait right
it.
here for me for a second, okay?
I'm just gonna mute, but I can still see y'all and all that stuff. So I want y'all to hear this part, and then we're gonna skip a little ahead. Okay.
What are you doing right now?
At this point, I'm walking back to my vehicle to secure that shotgun inside my vehicle.
We can actually see you holding it to the left of the screen. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's me holding the barrel of that shotgun.
Explain to us real quick a body worn camera. Where is that located, and where are these images coming from?
I generally put it right here on my chest, dead center of my chest.
And how is it activated? How is it turned off? Can you explain that to the jury a little bit? as well?
So most of these cameras are activated in the patrol vehicles that deputies on patrol have. They're activated whenever you activate your blue lights. So as soon as I turn my blue lights on, it activates my dash camera as well as my body worn camera.
And then how do you ultimately turn it off?
It's got a button on the front of it that you can press. If it did not originally activate it, you would press that button to turn it on to start the recording. And then whenever you're done recording, you press that same button to stop the recording.
In this particular instance, how did it get activated? Was it when you turned on your blue lights to run code to the scene?
That's correct. It was activated with my blue lights.
And I've used the term run code. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
And can you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure. Running code is just whenever you turn your lights on as well as your siren to get wherever you need to get fast.
When you're moving quickly to respond to an emergency situation.
That's correct.
653 on 7. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, well, I've already spoken with Captain Deal.
Right there, you laid the shotgun inside your vehicle. Is that correct?
That's correct. I laid it in front of the passenger seat in the front.
Did it remain there until it was turned over to SLED?
It did.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
To the left of the screen, again, that's where the Paul was. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's Paul laying on the ground.
And is that where you saw the water that you
It is.
described earlier?
It is.
Well, I've already spoken with Captain Deal. He's got crime scenes in contact with him. He's also going to give us the assistance of a couple of field agents. Roger that. No,
Check it
take the
right
gun out.
now. They are dead, aren't
I
they?
just turned all those in.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
Randy. All the dead. Where are you now?
What is Mr. Murdaugh doing at this particular time?
He's on the phone pacing around talking to someone. I'm not sure who he was talking to at that point.
Did he ask you to confirm if they were dead?
He did. He asked multiple times while I was on scene.
Did you ever see him, any tears, any physical tears?
I did not.
Did you ever see him approach the bodies?
I did not see him approach them. No.
Did you observe any visible blood on him?
There was no blood on him that I could see.
The bodies, as you saw them, was there a lot of blood around them, the injuries they had suffered?
Yes, there was a pool of blood around each of the bodies that extended out from the body.
All right. Yeah, the police are here now. The police are here now. That's my brother.
Okay. When was the last time you were here with them, or talked to them, or anything like that?
It was earlier tonight. I don't know the exact time, but
Okay.
I left. I was probably gone an hour and a half from my mom's, and I saw them about 45 minutes before that.
Okay.
I rode around with Paul for 2 hours this afternoon in the pickup truck.
That's your son, Paul? Okay.
Somebody go to check them.
Yes, sir. They've already checked them.
They did check them.
Yes, sir.
It's official that they're dead.
Yes, sir. That's what it looks like.
When you observed these victims, was it obvious that they had injuries incompatible with life?
Yes, any reasonable person that came upon those bodies would have come to a conclusion that they were deceased.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm very sorry. Call her parents.
What's her name?
Her name's Maggie Murdaugh. Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
What's her birthday?
Pause it right there. What did the defendant just say? Let me back it up.
Margaret Brandstetter Murdaugh. How you doing?
What did the defendant say right there?
So while I'm in the process of gathering information about the two victims from Mr. Murdaugh, somebody walks by behind me and he pauses what he's telling me to say, "Hey, how you doing?"
How you doing?
Yeah.
And who was that he said that to?
I'm not 100% certain. I believe it was a
Birthday.
9/15/68.
Okay. And what?
All right, I got to pause for commentary. Hey, Corky, let me just say that, hey, Emily, that hair scratch, the head scratch that he did is indicative of somebody who's wearing a hairpiece. Let me tell you why. You don't want that shit shifting at an inopportune moment. He is keenly aware that the cameras are on him and that we're all watching that hair because it's a different look than he's had in recent appearances. And so we're going to be looking for that shift in the toupee. So that's why it has to be delicate. Also, the adding in of that detail, I drove around with Paul in the truck for 2 hours, is an unnecessary detail. This officer is really kind of, he's not the detective. Okay. He is just a first responder, and he's not asking him any of this stuff. He is just freely volunteering these additional unnecessary details, which is what makes me feel like this does not have the ring of truth to it. I remember very distinctly when my mom died, and she died at her house, okay? And when they arrived, her door was wide open. And after what ended up happening is because my sister and I are her emergency contacts, they called my sister first, who then called me on three-way, and we talked to the officers. And they didn't, I mean, I was so shocked. The first thing out of my mouth was what happened, first of all. And then some of the questions that they were asking me, because I was so shocked, I know when they, because I talked to them like later, obviously. The first go around, I couldn't remember anything that, that would have been helpful at that moment because I was so shocked. And I was not even anywhere in the vicinity of seeing her. I can't imagine if I had just done what, if we're to believe Alec here, he's, home from seeing mom and dad, and he comes up on this horrific scene, and he's just giving these weird extra details. I don't know, just don't sit right with me. But this, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I do think that it is more likely than not that he is guilty. Okay. The main reason I'm watching this trial is because I'm curious to see if the state has enough to prove it, because it doesn't really matter what I think. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. It only matters what the jury thinks.
What's your son's first name? You said Paul?
Paul Terry Murdaugh.
And what's his birthday?
Jason, do you have any
4.
stop and pick up that tent? I see lights off in the distance.
Yeah, I see 36 people in here, and I only see 9 lights. Come on, y'all.
Tell them
Give your girl a thumbs up. Help her out.
preserve what we can.
653. Where's it at? I'm in town.
Actually, tries to be Bill Day because he's going to be the only one that's got access.
What's Paul's birthday?
April 14th, 1999, sir.
Put it up as wide as you can. That's fine. You said 99?
Sir?
He was born in 99?
He was born April 14th, 1999.
Okay. What's your first name, sir?
My name is Richard Alexander Murdaugh.
We're going to get,
Let me ask you this. In your interactions
Hold
with Mr. Murdaugh, was he able to understand your questions and respond appropriately to what you were asking?
Yes.
Was he catatonic in any way?
No, he was able to answer all the questions that I asked
he
him.
was
Was he
speaking.
panicking in any way?
He seemed upset, but I wouldn't say panicky.
Speaking would negate the catatonic.
Did you notice any labored breathing or anything like Mr. Murdaugh?
Yeah, he was breathing heavily. Never once did he complain about not able to breathe. I mean, there were fire rescue guys out there. He didn't ask for any kind of medical attention or anything like that due to not being able to breathe.
Richard Alexander Murdaugh?
All right, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I really cannot handle the dogs. It breaks my heart because I just know they're trying to tell a story, and can't nobody understand what they're saying, bless their hearts. And I really want y'all to get in on this cross because, hell, did I skip too far?
In front of you, one of the officers saying that brains are
Hold
on
on.
the ceiling.
This cross is brutal,
Harm yourself.
just to let y'all know. Bilbo comes out swinging. I shouldn't call him that. That's not very respectful.
Again, we're looking at the dog pen, and the water appears to be outside the pen on the costume.
I'll object. I think that the video needs to be stopped for counsel to ask this question and for the witness to respond.
You're posing a question while playing a video,
I'm sorry, Aaron.
or making a statement while playing the video.
Yeah, don't be talking over the video. Mighty Marcia, I watched all day today, and yes, I have to give it to the defense. They did manage to put some big, huge questions, I would imagine, in the jurors' minds, but the people that testified today weren't the ones necessarily collecting the evidence. Those officers, I think, are going to be testifying tomorrow. And so what I am hoping is that they can do some damage control with their testimony. You know what I mean? Okay, Corky says, unpopular opinion. I don't think it's a toupee. My husband has really light hair, and when he went gray, it happened on the sides first, so he's lighter on the side. All right, Corky. Well, okay. I still think it's a toupee. Only because in my thumbnail, if you look at the thumbnail, his head is shaved. And look, okay, see, look how the gentleman here, he has a shaved head, right? But you can see where the hair is, okay? But go look at Alex Murdaugh's most recent mugshot. He has the shine on top, which is indicative of no hair. Know what I mean? Even when you shave it completely, like all the way down to the skin, right? And then they get that shine, that's from no hair. But what? Maybe it's a combo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the technology is beyond mine. Okay, so again, this shows the same area, shows water on the concrete.
Exactly, Emily.
outside
That's
these
what I'm
dog pens.
saying. We're barely into this. I'm just
Yes.
Go to the next one, please.
I'm gonna be positive. Hi. LFT.
So again, this shows, and actually there's a light shining and you see a couple dogs. So those pens are occupied by dogs. There's water outside the pen and inside the pen as if somebody attempted to wash something out of the pens, correct?
There is water both inside and outside of the pen, yes.
You got one more? No, it's not. So I want you to go to the, you need to switch it to the.
Correct, Emily. It does have to be that it has to be reasonable doubt given the totality of the evidence. And the thing of it is that I appreciate what his defense attorney is doing. I mean, he's doing a good job. This is what his job is, okay? But what I think he went a little too hard on these first responders, because what was going on is it's June, and it's June in the South, okay? And if you're not familiar with the June, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying generally to the audience, this June in the South is damp. It's very muggy. I mean, you can feel the humidity. Like when you walk out the door, even at night in the South in the summertime, that humidity slaps you in your face. It does not buy you dinner first. It doesn't even ask your name. It just smacks you. And the other thing is, as the night progresses, it's had rained earlier before the murders occurred, before the call. And then as they're trying to assess the scene and process the scene, it's going to start raining as well. And I think that the defense went in a little too hard on these guys, because really they were only there to really assist. They weren't actually processing evidence. They weren't collecting any of the evidence, but they were trying to expedite and preserve the scene as best they could because of the rain. Does that make sense? Am I talking? Does that, but there's a lot more to come, I would imagine. And there's a lot of, there's stuff that we don't even know about. And I have to give it up that the fact of the matter is, unlike a lot of these cases we've seen recently, law enforcement in this case has done a fantastic job keeping what they have really tight-lipped from the public. Obviously the attorneys know and stuff like that, but from the general public, we don't really know. And they're pretty, so I'm just going to be patient and see what's going on. It's too early for me to
Again, I
say.
apologize, Your Honor, but the technology is more complicated than. Yeah. So let's proceed on. Let's see if I can clarify a couple matters.
Hey,
Let's talk
Bowling.
about the shotgun. This is the shotgun Murdaugh was carrying, leaning up against a car when you got there.
Leaning up against that vehicle, yes.
And according to what you testified to, these are the shells, the chain of custody on the shotgun.
Okay, and to answer your question, yes, bowling with cotton balls. He wasn't exactly in a building. I mean, although it had a roof, he was halfway in and out of a kennel. And, but I'm talking about, see, when officers arrived on the scene, okay, they had the immediate shell casings and blood evidence that was around Maggie and Paul, right? But as they're walking the scene, they're looking for footprints or they started to find more shell casings. And so the first responding officers were taking like pieces of crime scene tape and placing them so that nobody would step on them and stuff like that. And, the longer a scene sits, it's problematic. You know what I mean? It's outside. That's what makes it problematic. It's not, they were not actually inside of like an enclosed structure. So it was problematic.
And the shell, they went together.
Whenever I released the shotgun to the SLED agent who took possession of it, I'm aware of any shells that may have been inside of it at the time that it was handed over. That was what was discovered inside the gun, is my understanding.
Okay. Where's that chain of evidence document?
And
Okay, would you publish
this is an
very
excellent point too. Ever ask for help?
You
Them
want
to
me to
help.
read it?
Yes, please.
The Camo Benelli Super Black Eagle 3 12-gauge shotgun, serial number U573210E17, one unfired shot shell 12-gauge Federal, one unfired shot shell Winchester 16-gauge.
Okay, so there's a 12-gauge shell and a 16-gauge shell.
Yes,
12-gauge shotgun.
yes.
This may be way beyond your experience, but can you fire a 16-gauge shotgun shell from a 12-gauge shotgun?
I wouldn't recommend trying it.
You recommend what?
I would not recommend trying it. I don't know that it would actually work or not.
Could it result in damage to the person trying to fire the shotgun?
More than likely.
Jack, he's already said he doesn't have the answer to that.
Objections overruled.
So
All right. So yes, bowling with cotton balls, they can. But I think that I don't know how to explain this. Let me just play and I will think about how. I don't think it's I don't think that it's just their bodies. There was they're not actually tire tracks. They're more tire marks because they were in like the it's not technically dew because it's not morning time, but because of the rain and the humidity, there were tire marks on the grass and they appeared to be from different vehicles. And so I think they were trying to contain the situation and help expedite all of this is what I think that they're trying to do. And I think that unfortunately, because that's what happened, it leaves the door wide open for what the defense is going to do, what they are supposed to do.
You would not, you can actually harm yourself. It could blow up if you pull the trigger on a 16 gauge and a 12 gauge shotgun.
I've never tried it nor seen it tried, so I don't
And the
know.
reason you don't do that is because you could have personal harm from doing it, right?
It's possible.
I knew what you meant, bowling,
So,
and you get,
this
yeah, because you know
shotgun,
how YouTube be
according
sent,
to
you know,
chain of evidence you
can't
just
be
read,
saying certain
has a 16
things.
gauge and a 12 gauge in it.
Correct.
And it was leaning up against the car.
It was, the shotgun was.
Now, I'm sort of interested as to
Sure.
as to why, well, let me just cut to the chase on this.
Yes,
There's
please cut
discussion
to the
on
chase.
This tape, or maybe that there was a theory that Paul had shot his mother and then shot himself. Is that correct? That's out on the scene.
Yes.
She had been shot multiple times. And he had been shot with a shotgun. At least one of the shots, we all believe was upward. That's why his brains were all over the ceiling
That part, I don't know. I wasn't involved in that part of it.
at the scene.
I did not discuss anything being shot upward. I don't recall saying that.
Did you hear discussions to that of your fellow officers?
Of a shot being fired upward?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like they were saying, yes.
Okay. And further, I think y'all, in front of you, one of the officers saying that brains are on the ceiling, there's blood all over the place, correct?
I don't recall them saying brain was upward. I don't recall.
Okay. And further, you, as you're discussing this with them, indicate, let me make sure I get this correct.
I'm not going to be good with the firearm stuff.
You indicate there are multiple, or someone indicates to you there are multiple blackout rounds around Maggie's body in the vicinity, correct?
Not rounds, but shell casings.
All right, shell casings. Now, let me ask you this. When you got there, didn't the fire chief? and the
Yeah,
fire
I'm not
department
good with
arrive before you did?
firearms.
No, sir.
I mean, I
first
know
on
how to
scene.
use one,
Okay,
but I
did they
don't
arrive while you
know
were there?
anything about them.
One of the fire rescue workers, I believe it was Barry McCoy.
And when you got there, we hear unidentified person, and in your notes, you indicate it was the fire chief, I believe, that indicated to you, pointed out to you tire tracks, and you went over and looked at those tire tracks, and there were multiple tire tracks coming and going, correct?
I don't know that someone indicated them to me. I believe I just saw them.
Okay. And what did you do to preserve?
And I have to say, for his part, this officer, so the defense attorney is doing a fantastic job of doing what a defense attorney does, right? He's got to impeach the testimony if he can, or get the witness to admit or concede a point, right? Admit to something or to concede a point. And I have to give it up to this officer because the defense attorney here tries 11 billion different ways to get him to concede that the evidence wasn't, that they didn't know what they were doing and they were basically doing a piss poor job. And he won't. He gets asked 11 billion different ways. He's going to make an excellent detective, quite frankly, in the questioning department, because this is the way cops would interrogate a suspect. They would ask the same question repeatedly at different times and in different ways to see if the story changes. And this guy didn't break. So I have to give it up to him for that.
Those?
The tire tracks, nothing.
And you certainly are not an expert in tire tracks.
I'm not.
So you couldn't tell whether it was multiple vehicles or one vehicle.
No,
And it may have been multiple vehicles.
may have been.
Did you take pictures of the tracks?
Okie dokie.
I did not take any pictures of the scene.
Instruct anyone to take pictures of the tracks?
No, sir, that's not my job.
When SLED arrived, did you tell them about the tracks?
No, sir, not my job.
you regret not doing that.
It's not part of my job description.
So what's your job to even tell them there were multiple tire tracks?
Well, I'm not assuming that
If
you're
it had come up,
absolutely
if I
right,
had been
Kai. Hold on,
asked,
let me
yes.
pause. I can't
And
highlight your
in addition to
comment
that,
because of the word that you
since-
use. It's okay to have it in chat. I just can't put it on the screen. But the only reason that I'm saying that it's a bloody scene is because that is how the first responders described it. That when they testified, they said there was a large amount of blood around both Maggie and Paul. And this is an excellent point too, Jenny. And this is going to come up here very, very, yes, Kai. Yeah, but it's okay. You can write it. I can't say it or put it on the screen. YouTube has some weird rules, but it's fine. I'll play their game. That is an excellent, excellent point, because let me highlight this. Because when the next officer takes the stand, oh, you're fine, Kai, you're absolutely fine. When the next officer takes the stand, there's on cross-examination, or it might even be on direct, they talk about the defense is making a lot out of, or not making a lot. How should I put this? What would be a better way? The defense is very keen on pointing out that, and this is the right thing to do, that there was no visible blood on Mr. Murdaugh. Okay. And, but it's it puts them in an interesting conundrum, because when he made the 911 call, I believe that the dispatcher asked him to check if they were breathing, and he said they are not breathing. And how could he have? So the way that Paul was laying, most people, and let's be real here, Alec is an attorney. He's not a doctor or anything with any kind of, he doesn't have a medical background. But most people know the two places that you would take and you would touch to take a pulse, right? You check for a pulse, your neck or your wrist. Well, Paul, the way that he was laying was face down and his hands were up underneath him. So that would negate the wrist, obviously. But the way that he was laying, in order for Alec to have checked for a pulse on the neck, he would have had to manipulate the body in some way to get to it. And that in itself would have put blood on him. And it's not this next officer. It's the last officer of the day. That's who it is. So, hey, smooth criminal. Ooh, what you making for lunch, babe?
They were not secured in any way. Multiple vehicles, law enforcement vehicles and others, drove over those tracks.
That's possible. I wasn't over there the whole time to know what kind of vehicles were driving in the area.
Well, by the time SLED got there, did you strike that? You never took SLED over and pointed out tire tracks.
Not to my recollection, I did not.
Was there somebody there with your department that should have done that?
I have no idea what they do with their job descriptions as far as what they point out to additional investigators.
Did somebody from
So this is a very, very, this is an important point as well, with Kai, that that his phone was out of his pocket. Ooh, Caesar salad, yummy. His phone was out of his pocket. And then here comes Jenny with an excellent follow-up to that. She said, don't touch them. And he admitted that he touched them. Yes, yes, yes. And see, this is, and then exactly. And then asks the cops like 80 billion times if they're sure. It's very, very, the whole situation is he is, and I don't want to say that he didn't behave in a typical manner. There's no typical like right manual way to handle something like this. Okay. But human beings, we have some things that are just like in common, that are sort of general and apply to all of us. Although we're individuals, but the things when somebody is lying, they add in extra details, which is how people get caught lying. Like if you're going to lie, keep the story simple. It's less to remember, and you know, it's much more difficult for them to catch you in the lie if you keep it short and simple. Or like me, just don't lie, because to be quite honest with you, I'm too lazy to remember what the heck I said. Sorry, try not to cuss. What the heck I said. And so I just don't lie because I don't have to remember. I mean, everybody lies a little, you know, like I have said a few times, yeah, it was great when it was really, you know, just okay. All right. Like white lies. But I mean, I don't generally call 911 and try to pretend that somebody unalived my family when I'm the actual unaliver, right? That big lies. Okay. Lies that matter. So yeah. No, I mean, this is a fascinating case, and to know these little details because they're important. And I'm only one person, and I always like to hear from you guys so much, because when I'm watching the testimony, right, I'll pick out something that, you know, I find to be interesting, or points this way or points that way, but you guys will have a completely different perspective and bring in even more points and good points. And that's why I love watching trials. I can't even tell y'all how much I love watching trials. Not
Fire
all
and rescue
trials,
point
but
out footprints.
I believe on my body camera, there is a fire rescue individual pointing out some footprints.
Okay, did you take pictures of those?
I did not.
Did you tell Sled about them?
I did not.
hope you heal soon and feel better soon, Kai.
So nobody
The
attempted to determine
the
whether
devil
those
is
were
in the details. They don't just say that for no reason.
Maggie's footprints, Paul's footprints, or at least that night, there was no effort by you or your department to preserve those.
By me, no, I cannot speak for everyone else.
Okay. And let me,
And let me just say this. As much as this defense
Ask you
attorney
this.
is going over what he did and sort of saying it, that last question, there was no effort made by you or your department to do X, Y, or Z, right? And he does this a few times. If he had made the effort to do X, Y, or Z, the defense would have said, that's out of your purview. You're a first responder, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So
how about go to 4439, please? And let's watch 10, at least 10, if not 15 seconds of that.
all right, y'all, we got 9 people who have not thumbs up this stream, and I would appreciate it if you would. It helps me out. Even if don't feel pressure to thumbs up. If you want to thumbs it down just to see what it does, just do that too. Either way, it's interaction, and I need it, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Corky, that's an excellent point. It's very difficult to have a pulse after you sustain some type of injury. But the fact is that he said he touched them, which, you know.
Your Honor, I'd object. They're putting a transcript that's not been.
We're going to play the video.
It's up on the screen.
It's up on the screen. I object.
I apologize.
Can you take it down, please? Thank you.
We have to prepare the transcript.
Thank you, smooth criminal.
Well, I object to that. Your Honor, I object. This transcript's not been provided. There's no need for a transcript. The officer is here. They can play the video and he can comment on it.
The transcript
Hey,
being offered.
Amanda, thank you very much. Good to see you, babe.
Direct the audio visual man to.
Well, you have questions for the witness, questions for the IT guy, you're just reading. ready to proceed.
What's going? Yes, Judge, get him, wrangle
I
him in.
understand.
What's happening
We're
here?
waiting for you. Okay.
Yep.
Bless it. Oh, I love this judge. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. What are you doing, Mr.
I'm ready.
Harpoodian? Harpooshian? How do you say his name? That's why I call him Bilbo, because he looks like Bilbo Baggins to me.
It's
And what are you doing over there, Alec? You just writing out a grocery list, a to-do list, a hit list? What's going on over there? I love how these defendants are always appear to be like, completely engaged in note writing for no reason. All right, we're skipping forward because this is boring to me. Bruh.
Let me just cut to the chase. It's
Yes,
taking too much time.
please cut to the chase. It's taking too much time. Come on.
On this transcript, on this tape, fire rescue person says to you, I believe you agreed with me, set of.
Oh, I
behind the
remember that
trailer.
case, Emily.
You were told,
Jackie's publishing again this
I'm not
transcript.
publishing, I'm asking.
Oh, you don't
Did
have to.
you,
I object.
I haven't heard a question yet.
I'd like to make one.
All right.
Were you told?
Boys, calm down here now. Now clearly it's getting towards the lunch hour and some people in here are hangry and maybe need a little nap. And listen, I don't judge because naps and snacks are very important. In fact, they're my two most important things that I do in a day. All right, here we go.
Told by fire and rescue, there's a set of prints behind the trailer.
yes.
Okay. And, did he tell you?
Maybe he's like
that
Jensen
they
and sketching
attempted to not
penises
disturb
because
those
apparently
footprints
that's what
in
Mark
any way?
Jensen likes to do.
I don't recall exactly what was said.
Let me further ask you. You asked Mr. Murdaugh, we heard this on the tape. You talked about the tire tracks coming and going, and he told you those weren't his tire tracks, correct?
He did say that
Hey,
they were not.
Decipher, good to see you, babe.
And further,
Woohoo! Further what? Are you going to get to the further?
he indicated to you, Mr. Murdaugh did, that he felt this was related to the boat case. You indicated you knew about the boat case. You read about the boat case. Paul had been charged with 3 counts of felony DUI, killing a young girl and
Here we
wounding 2
go.
others, correct?
I don't know much details about that case. I really don't.
Okay. But Mr. Murdaugh indicated to you that the threats made against Paul
He did.
and that he even got in a fight once about it.
Well, he
believe
said
he
he
said
got
punched.
punched. Mhm.
Okay.
That's what
And so
there you go,
on the
officer.
scene, he believed that Paul's death was connected to someone angry about the boat case,
I
correct?
object to that, Your Honor, as to what he believed. Asking the witness what another person believed.
Objection is overruled.
Thank you. On the scene, Mr. Murdaugh indicated to you he thought the death of his son was related to
I remember
his
those
son's
kind of
involvement in the
details, Heather.
death of a young lady and the injury of 2 others in the boat case, correct?
It appeared that that's what he was getting at, yes.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate you too, babe. Well, now, Mighty Marsha,
on the tape.
I kind of have
Now,
to disagree with that, babe. And
let's
let me
talk a
tell
little
you why. Okay? Let me tell you why. The whole reason that they exhumed Gloria Satterfield's body and reopened the Stephen Smith case was because they were working a revenge angle. They wanted to look back at those cases to see who had a motive. Because remember, yes, Mr. Murdaugh here came out immediately with, looky here. Now, my son was involved in a boat accident. A young girl died. There's some hard feelings, yada, yada, yada. Get it? Totally get it, right? But then they start digging around and they find these other situations and things that have occurred. And there's some other people who have been side-eyeing the Murdaughs as well. And so that's why they started looking back into those cases to see if it was a revenge angle. I do think that they looked at other people, but I just don't think that the evidence bore out that there were other people involved. Now, I'll tell you what I think. I think that Alex had an accomplice. I don't think he pulled these off alone. That's just what I think. But that's only from like a little sleuthing here and, like reading articles and looking at some files, et cetera, stuff that's widely available. I don't know what the state has. So, I'm curious about how all that's going to work. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what all they have. She was on her body washed up into like a marsh, kind of marsh area. But I don't think it was a dirt bank. All right.
About the preservation of the crime scene.
So he's just going to go into this even further with this gentleman, and we have other people we need to get to as far as witnesses go. So I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit because this gets a little tedious. The way he,
Is he a senior officer to you?
At that time,
Okay. And I noticed
This
before you
is
moved,
the
what did you
officer, the
do?
ladies, and
turned my light on.
And why did you turn on your light?
I don't want to talk over you, gentlemen. This is the officer that the ladies in the law and crime chat were swooning over. I don't see the big deals. I mean, he's not, unfortunate looking or anything. He's all right, but I don't see the BFD, to be quite frankly. All right, here we go.
So that I could plainly see what was underneath me, where I was going.
Did you disturb any evidence or anything as you started to go into the feed room?
No, sir.
Were you careful to avoid doing that?
Thank you, Emily.
Yes, sir.
Did you
Thank you
kick
very
any shell
much.
casings or waddings or anything
Appreciate
like
that,
that when you
sweet-
went into the feed room?
Thank
No,
you
sir.
so
Did you
much.
step on any bloody footprints when you went into the feed room?
No, sir.
If you had seen something like that before you stepped in there, what would you have done?
I would have stopped and notified the detective.
Well, the desk over there. Actually, hold on. Keep this on the fire rescue might have some more sheets we can steal.
All right, speaking of dogs, I gotta let mine out, but I'll be in the chat. I'm just gonna mute. Okay.
Do you recall what, if anything, was laying on Paul's rear end?
His cell phone, or a cell phone.
Is that it in this image right here?
Yes, sir.
Well, before I let the dog out, sorry, Nestor, you just gotta wait one more second. I'd like to note for the record that I don't believe that I have ever heard a prosecutor or any attorney for that matter in a case use what if anything until Elaine used it in the Depp Heard trial. And I think maybe Elaine, unlike Fetch, which bless it, poor Gretchen couldn't make happen. I think Elaine made what if anything happen. Just kidding. I don't really know, but maybe it's because I only started noticing it after that. But now it's all like I hear it far more frequently than I ever did before. Okay, Frills, I'm letting the dog out. I'll be right back.
I haven't asked the dad about the phone, but dad did say he came over and checked the pulses. Beyond that, I don't know what it's. He did have a shotgun with him. I have secured that in my vehicle.
Did you kind of jump out of the feed room just then?
Yes, sir.
Did you turn on your light before you did so?
I believe so.
Watch it again. Did you jump out when you left the feed room?
Yes, sir.
And why'd you jump out like that?
Try not to disturb the body. It was easier to leap out than to try to step.
Did you enter the feed room at any point after that, to your recollection?
Not to my recollection.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as defense exhibit number 1 and see if you recognize this particular image.
Yes, sir.
I'll switch inputs, please. Does that appear to, is that how you found Paul when you arrived at the scene?
Yes, sir.
And were his hands underneath him in that fashion when you arrived at the scene?
Yes, sir.
You're all right. Have State's Exhibit 7, I believe, without objection. Without evidence.
Objection.
I'll show you what's been marked as Exhibit 7 and see if you recognize that image.
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's a still image of video of my body worn camera.
Is that a still image of when the defendant said, "How you doing?" when you walked up?
Yes, sir.
Court's indulgence, come on, Your Honor. Nothing further from this witness at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Please report, Your Honor. So when you got to the scene, who was your supervisor?
Can you repeat that question? I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. But that's okay. I'll speak a little bit louder. When you got to the scene, who was your supervisor?
Sergeant Green.
Sergeant Green. And I believe Sergeant Green was instructing y'all to put some yellow tape up. You did some of that?
No, sir.
You didn't do any of that?
Deputy Pruitt, yes, but I didn't.
What was Sergeant Green, what was his instructions to you? What were you there to do? Number one, let me withdraw that question. Were you there to apprehend somebody?
Not at the time, no, sir. I was just there to assist where needed.
Assist doing what?
Whatever was needed of me.
Were you all attempting to determine what happened?
We there as initial responders were there to secure the scene.
Okay, secure the scene. And secure the scene for further processing by SLED?
By our investigators, I learned later on that SLED was responding as well.
So let me, by way of example, you went down to where Paul's body was. It was covered with a sheet. You see that on the video, correct?
Not when I initially responded, but yes, sir.
No, but the video we just saw.
Yes, sir.
And why were y'all, what was there a purpose of going down there and pulling the sheet back, looking around it?
I believe they were looking for another weapon.
What kind of weapon?
I believe they were looking for a 300 blackout.
But, I mean, we saw in the picture, if you look at Paul's body, there's no 300 blackout laying next to him, correct?
No, sir.
I'm correct.
Yes, you are correct. No, there was no 300 blackout laying beside him.
Okay, so you say you're down there looking for another weapon. Where were you looking for another weapon?
I wasn't, sir. I was assisting lifting the sheet for detectives.
And you concede you stepped into the feed room.
Yes, sir.
And based on the way Paul was laying, and of course you did have a flashlight and you were looking, trying not to step on anything. Did you have anything to insulate your feet? In some jurisdictions, they have little bag.
Okay, so Mighty Marcia makes an excellent point. There is nothing wrong inherently with asking how you're doing. In fact, I would actually say of all the things, that Alex Murdaugh said on that body cam footage, how you doing is probably the most, I don't like to use the word normal, but I can't think of another word at the moment, thing that he actually said that day. Like, he gives a ton of extra details that are not necessary, that were not asked of him, which does give me pause. But the how you doing, I think, actually sort of makes sense in a way. Like when I spoke to the officers at the house with my mom, they asked me how I was, and I asked them how they were. So I think that might be kind of a normal greeting. Southerners pride themselves, y'all, on their manners. For reals. It's not a joke, when we talk about Southern manners, it's a serious thing. I'll give you an example and then we'll get back to it. When I went to Chicago to see my sister, when she moved up there for a hot minute, I was walking towards the gas station door at the same time as this guy was. And do you know that fool walked in front of me and didn't even, like, behind him, push the door a little so I could grab it? Now in the South, that would not have happened. More than likely what would have happened is the gentleman would have held the door for me and come in after me. But at the very least, if he had walked in front of me, he would have extended his arm and pushed and kept the door open so I could grab it until I grabbed it. So there is a difference. And I think that is, it's part of the manners. Now, if the blood is in Paul's pocket, that one is a little bit more difficult to explain. And also, how did his phone get on his bum? That is a little, that's kind of confounding to me. But I would expect that there's going to be more witnesses who come along who speak in further detail, and because I want to know what the condition of Paul's phone was. And, I want to know all the things, but let's get back to it, because he's really going to press this guy, and he doesn't fold either. I have to say that these officers did really hold up against some really good cross-examination.
Baggy things to put over their feet to make sure they don't contaminate the scene. Did you have those on?
No, sir.
And did you,
Hey, faraway eyes.
when you stepped in, you got a flashlight, what you were looking at with the visible eye, you're determining you weren't disturbing the scene, correct?
That's correct.
You made an effort not to.
Yes, sir.
You don't know whether you did or you didn't,
To my knowledge, I did not.
but you can't say that you didn't. To your knowledge.
Can you repeat that?
To your knowledge, you didn't.
To my knowledge, I did not disturb anything.
Okay. But you would concede there's microscopic evidence sometimes at crime scenes, correct?
Yes, sir. That's possible.
And you didn't have a microscope.
No, sir.
But like SLED's crime team would look very closely, would they not? They would not, I mean, as far as I could tell, you were looking basically 3 or 4 feet away from the floor, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you can see with the naked eye at night with a flashlight from 3 or 4 feet is what you base your opinion you didn't disturb anything.
That's correct.
Now, and you don't know why they were looking for another weapon, but you don't know what other weapon, you don't know where that weapon might have been. And again, multiple deputies had seen Paul's body before he was covered with a sheet, right?
Myself, Sergeant Green did.
Okay. For y'all, in your present, any
Well, see, Kai, what he has to do is he has got to get one of these people who is one. First of all, these are the guys that saw everything first. They were the first on the scene. They spoke to Mr. Murdaugh, all the things, right? So what he has got to get this officer to concede is that that there were things that were done incorrectly, and that there is a possibility because although this officer was not in charge of collecting evidence, preserving the scene, any of that stuff, if he can get the people that at least were there and present and had took steps in some capacity, i.e. the crime scene tape, because he's going to testify that he found a casing and he marked it with some yellow crime scene tape and put a rock on top of the crime scene tape in order to keep it from blowing away in the wind, right? So they did, although they didn't do the evidence collection and they didn't actually process the scene, right? He needs to get these guys to admit that there was some form of, for lack of a better word, bungling going on, so that later on, when the detectives, the officers, etc., from SLED come on, it's in the jury's mind that you got to take what they're saying and the results of any testing that they do with a grain of salt, because the first responders who aided in securing the scene and in some ways marked some of the evidence, right, messed up. So you can't be their test results and their conclusions and their findings, et cetera, can't be 100% relied on. You got to take that with a grain of salt. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah, I believe so. Yes, Kate, that's what that is what they said.
the other officers with you there that night, did any of them discuss this as a possible murder-suicide?
It's possible. It's not to my recollection.
Okay. Now, when you were going out and we saw you mark a shell casing, was that in the grass or on the dirt road?
I believe the first one was in
appreciate
gravel.
your honesty.
In the gravel, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you found others, right?
Are you kidding?
Yes,
you
sir.
want to come up,
To
babe?
do
No,
that,
you
you
don't
had to
feel like
walk
talking.
around in
Never
the
mind.
grass.
Yes, sir.
And again, you got a flashlight, you're looking, and you don't know what was in the grass that you may have disturbed around those shell casings.
No, sir.
You don't know.
No, sir.
You may have disturbed something.
It's possible.
You don't know what you don't know.
And I guess what I'm trying to ask is, why then were you trying to look for shell casings? Why couldn't you wait till the next morning? Why was this urgency? I mean, was somebody getting away?
Oh, excuse me, I should have muted. Maggie, Emily, the theory from the state is that yes, Maggie was running away, because I believe that she was also shot in the back, from behind, I should say, and the entry would be from the back and the exit would be from the front. And Kate, for me, I have always believed that Paul was the intended. I think they both were intended targets. Don't get me wrong, but I think Paul was the focus because of the weapon that was used, the damage that was done using that weapon, because he was shot multiple times and it was not necessary to do that. And because based on just, and don't get me wrong, it is entirely possible that the defense presents something that completely changes my mind. But at this point, I am leaning towards guilty versus innocent. But if you believe the state's theory and everything, especially when Alex talks to Officer Green, who is the guy that testified first, and he immediately goes into the boating accident, and he thinks that this is somehow related, yada yada yada. I think that is this is what I think, Kate. I think that Alex had an accomplice. That's what I think. I don't think that he acted alone. I do think that there is another person, but I do not think that this was a for hire situation where he was not the trigger person. I think exactly laying that seed. And so I think that is exactly what I think that's what's going on here. But I do think that I think he did have an accomplice. I don't think that he did it alone. And what I'm even more curious about, and I really am waiting for them to put on, is this evidence with Alex's cell phone. Because the thing about a cell phone is you can prove where a cell phone is, right? You can use the pings, and if you have an app or whatnot, you can tell what's going on with the cell phone. But what you can't tell always is who is holding the phone. Now, obviously, if you have an iPhone and you have the fingerprint or the face recognition, that makes it a little bit different. Androids don't have that, but they do have lock screens. So that can, but I know my husband's lock screen code and he knows mine. So they didn't prove anything other than the phone was unlocked. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult. So we'll see. That's what I'm curious about. I'm curious about the cell phone stuff because obviously so much of the evidence that was used in the probable cause affidavit for the Idaho 4 case really revolved around Brian Kohberger's cell phone and where it was pinging. So I'm always interested in learning new stuff. So I want to see what they got.
Way, or I mean, I don't quite understand why.
I can't answer that. I don't know. I didn't know if somebody was getting away or not.
Did somebody instruct you to go find shell casings?
No, sir.
You just did it on your own initiative.
Yes, sir.
And you can see that you may have disturbed or destroyed evidence in that process.
Microscopic or something I didn't see.
Well, microscopic, something got into the grass.
Inadvertently.
I mean, you're walking on grass, right?
Yes, sir.
Not a smooth surface like in the shed, in the feed room. But
Like
it's
20
grass
minutes, Kate,
at
yes.
night,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And I guess what I'm trying to wonder is what y'all were doing. Were you trying to solve a crime? Were you trying to just index everything was there? And when did you find out SLED was coming?
So we're trying to mark everything there. As you can tell, there were multiple units going back and forth, fire rescue as well as sheriff's office. We try to mark it so that it brings awareness to them and it doesn't become disturbed.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. I can't hear you.
There were multiple units on scene,
Right.
sheriff's office as well as fire rescue.
Right.
The reason that I saw urgency to mark those shell casings is so that it brings awareness to those of us that were walking around and they don't become disturbed.
Well, that brings up the question.
That's
should you be walking
entirely
around?
possible.
What if you got two dead people, whoever the perpetrator was, at that point y'all hadn't identified, had you?
No, sir.
Okay, so the perpetrator may be in the woods across the street as far as you know at that point, right?
Could have been anywhere.
Right. So you're not trying to solve a crime, you're processing a scene.
I'm not processing anything.
I think the accomplice took the
You don't know what you're
weapons,
doing.
and I think that
I just told you what I was doing, sir.
You're marking pieces
they
of
are the
evidence.
ones that
Yes, sir.
they're the
And the
person who
urgency
threw
to
the
do
phone.
that was
Yes.
so that no one else would walk over them
Yes, sir.
while you're walking around them.
Around. Yes, sir.
Well, you don't know whether you actually stepped on one or not, do you?
I was very careful not to.
Now, let me also ask you this, the pattern of the first shell casing was how,
I've also entertained that he was the only person who did the firing, but I do think that it is possible that he had an accomplice who maybe didn't fire the weapons, but did help after the fact, i.e., getting rid of the weapons and throwing Maggie's phone out the window
how far
or
away from
out on the
feed
street.
room?
I can't
That you
say.
found?
The first shell casing I found?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
10 feet, 20 feet, more than me, further than,
Probably about the same distance from me to you.
okay. From the feed room door?
Yes, sir.
Now, I understand, and you fired, you got a blackout, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you fire that, does it eject to the right or the left?
To the right. Mine does.
Okay, so if the feed room is where I am, that shell casing ejected to the right and forward, right and back? What do you know?
Are you asking where the shell casing was in relation to the door? It would have been forward and right of the door.
Forward and right of the door. And there was the pattern of casing.
That's an
leading
excellent
to all these
observation,
are-
Kate, because
I can't
during the questioning
Did you
today
sketch where you found it?
from
No, sir, I
all
did
of the
not get a promise
witnesses,
of
there
sketch.
was a lot
Have
of
you ever
talk
done a
about the
sketch?
water
No, sir.
in the kennels. And it made me wonder
Your training
if
in crime
there
scene
was
process.
some type of,
It's very basic, limited what you would get at the Criminal Justice Academy.
Very basic.
Yes, sir.
you know,
So you're not a crime scene processor.
if he did the same thing, if there was a
Again,
wipe down
and I'm
or,
not
you know, a
asking
hose
this
down of the
question
scene
repetitively, I'm just trying
to destroy an attempt to destroy evidence.
you don't know what your role was there.
I was a first responder.
Well, they were dead, Paul and Maggie, right?
That's very
You couldn't render
possible,
them any
Kate.
aid.
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I would object, no question in that statement.
Is there a question?
Could you have rendered them aid? Were they in a physical condition where your assistance would have helped?
No, sir.
They were dead. Correct?
Are you asking? Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, let me show you a couple of these clips and ask about them. Here, and I've got times. We don't have to go through the. And then we brief.
That text between
If you go
Maggie and
to
her friend is
10:40.
pretty damning.
How does that mean?
All right. So there's not a whole lot that can be gained from this officer. They're just going to continue to. Oh, now I missed her. I can't tell y'all what she says because I took a nap. Don't tell nobody though. So I'll watch these two because I haven't seen what they have to say. I had needed a nap. I was up early this morning. Oh, come on. Did YouTube take away that function? They did. All right, whatever. We're just going to leave it here. It's good enough.
Management of day-to-day operations of the 911 Dispatch Center for Hampton
Okay,
County,
here's the.
including budgeting, payroll, like I said, day-to-day operations.
Oh, you guys
and,
want to skip these? These are just the
record-keeping,
911 calls. We
recordings,
know all
etc.
this. She's not going to be able
Does
to add
the
nothing.
Hampton County 911 keep record? It's takes exhibit 49. That's just where.
That's the lean-to, and that's Miss Maggie's body in front of the little side-by-side.
Oh, he calls her Miss Maggie. Now, see, that is, that's a Southern thing. Which it's interesting because technically I believe this gentleman might be older than Maggie, and usually that's reserved for elders.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Oh, they rotated everybody in today. What am I? What should I not? Okay. Okay, so go back to the. Okay. All right.
Cross-examination.
Y'all got to tell me.
One moment.
All right, here we go.
It's supposed
Bust it.
Cross-examination.
Court's indulgence. Just a couple.
911 call, be it please.
Your cell phone count, that's not you. Thank you.
Anything further? You may step down. Thank you.
All right, so this is what we want to watch. Okay.
I call your next witness.
Angela Stallings.
You know, before we get to this lady, you're right, Kai. Paul being at Moselle is maybe random. Maggie was definitely there by Alex asking, did Alex plan to unalive them? I don't know. I'm still on Alex snapped because it's just so gruesome. That's a good point. I think, though, that the timing of these murders is important because they were murdered on the 7th, and the 10th is when Paul's beginning of the stuff going on with his trial was going to start. And they're I'm going to have to go back and like really look and pay attention and get more detail on that because I'm not exactly sure where in the process they were, as if like, was his trial starting? Were they doing preliminary hearings? Where were they in that process? Because I mean, they had managed to put it off for a good couple of years. Now, granted that, well, no, let me think about that. Yeah, they did, because that happened in 2019. So the vid probably aided in helping put it off a little bit. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm kind of curious where they were in the process. I think the timing I think that this is why I think Paul was the target more than Maggie, because his case was looming. It was impending. And they were probably fast approaching the point of discovery. And look, books needing to be opened, et cetera, depositions, all the things that go into getting ready and preparing for a trial, right? And that's what I think that Paul was trying to prevent. I'm very, 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 very curious as to whether or not the state can prove with a witness that Maggie did indeed speak to a divorce attorney. Because if she did, and that would be a game changer. That then moves Maggie right on back up to the top of the list of people that, could be the primary target between her and Paul, due to, again, divorce proceedings require, because of the level of money that these people had, a forensic accountant, which if you guys watched my coverage of the Wagner trial, that the forensic accountant that testified in that trial, man, he had all the things. He knew what bills they were paying. He knew when money was being moved, how much money was being moved, credit card statements, everything. Like, it's a mini version, I would think, of an IRS audit. You know what I'm saying? So, exactly. And so I think that I'd be curious, Mighty Marcia, when it comes time for the forensic experts to testify about how far or near you would need to be and all of that, and just how covered you would be. Do you know what I mean? Do I think that you wouldn't walk out of there clean? Yes. But do I think that you would be covered? That I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I am curious if they're going to be able to prove that. Okay, so here we go.
If you affirm the testimony about to give the court shall be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Take a seat. State your name again for the record.
Well, I think that Bowling with
Angela
Cotton Balls-
Stallings, Stallings.
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. I don't want to talk over you, and I definitely don't want to scream. You've got a good, loud speaking voice. That's good because it's hard sometimes in these courtrooms. I feel like Bowling with Cotton Balls, that one of the theories is that Alex did find out about it. Like, there would never have been an attorney that Maggie could have conceivably spoken to that it would not get back to Alex in some way, shape, or form. Do you know what I mean? Yes, she's from there. Well, let me think. Is she from there? I know that they met in college. So don't get me to lying. I can't remember if she's from there or not.
Hi, Captain Stallings.
Good afternoon.
Could you please tell the jury where you work?
I work at the Colleton County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you worked there?
I have approximately 15 years with the Sheriff's Office.
What are some of
really,
your
Jennifer?
duties
Hey, babe,
and
good to see
responsibilities
you.
at the Sheriff's Office?
Look at you sneaking
I am
in.
the Administrative Services Captain. I oversee the 911 Center. I'm over our Civil Process Division, Court Security, our School Resource Officers, our Sex Offender Registry Division, training, supply, and the hiring process, and records.
Good job. Good for you,
Quite
girl.
a lot of duties there.
Yes, ma'am.
She's busy.
In
Your boss.
the course of your duty, keep records of 911 calls.
We do.
Can you explain to the jury what happens when a 911 call comes into Colleton County?
Yes, ma'am. So when a call comes into Colleton County, hits our recorder system. As soon as the call connects to the recorder and starts ringing, our recorder automatically starts recording automatically. It starts recording before we even answer the phone.
And is a recording of all 911 calls that come into Colleton County Center kept?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And how are those records kept?
They're kept on our server that is the Carolina recording software system that we use.
Who has access to those records?
Myself and one other employee.
Is it normal for y'all to have calls routed from Hampton County to Colleton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And why does that happen?
Depending on the location of the call within the county, we border several counties. Depending on if it's a cell phone that is calling 911, depending on the closest available cell tower, it will hit that tower. Wherever that tower is located, it routes to that PSAP.
All right. On June 7th of 2021, did Colleton County receive a transferred 911 call from Hampton County?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And what time did that call come in?
May I look at my notes?
Yes.
That call came in at 22:07:09, which is 10:07:09 p.m.
And the notes you're referencing up there, is that some kind of report that's generated when the call comes in, or what are you looking at?
Yes, ma'am. This is a report that's generated through our recorder software.
So you're 10:07 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was that call from?
Hampton County.
Okay. And who was the caller?
The caller was Alex Murdaugh.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 11. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 11?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What is it?
It is a disc of the 911 call.
And how do you know that?
It has my initials and date that I reviewed it.
And this is a true and accurate depiction of the 911 call made by Alec Murdaugh.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
No, Corky, I
Not at this
couldn't.
time, I'd move State's Exhibit 11 into evidence.
I would never marry
Submitted
somebody.
without
I wouldn't. Listen, I'm not sneaky like that, but a girl's got to have some secrets. You know, there are sometimes that you just might want to make a purchase and you ain't want nobody to know because you don't want to be judged.
June. June 7, 22 minutes. Okay, and so you need the address again? 4147 Murdaugh Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad. Okay. How did they shoot? Did they shoot themselves? Oh no! Hell no! Okay, and are they breathing? No, ma'am. Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son? My wife and my son. Are they in a vehicle? No, ma'am. They're on the ground out of my kennel. Okay, and did you see anyone? In the head, and he shot really bad. He shot it. Okay, where is he shot at? Ma'am, I don't know, but he has blood everywhere. His brain.
Those are the purchases that would get me in trouble as well, Corky. The shoes. I love buying shoes.
Do you see anyone in the area? No, ma'am. Is there any guns near them at all?
They've already seen the body cam footage, Bully. Right or no? No, I guess they didn't. I guess they were only letting the officers see it. I'm very confused about that. I have to look into that.
It's white. You can't see it from the road. Okay, is it a house or mobile home?
It's a house.
Okay, and what is your name? My name is Alex Murdaugh.
Hey, Seth. Hey, Diane. Good to see you.
Okay, did you hear anything, or did you come home and find out? I've been gone. I just woke up. Okay, and was anyone else supposed to be at your house? No, ma'am. Please hurry. We're getting somebody out there to you. Okay, so what is her name? Maggie is home. Maggie is her name? Yes, ma'am. Okay. When's the last time you talked to Maggie? Hour and a half ago, probably 2 hours ago.
Thank you, Emily. That's what I thought. I thought they were just keeping it from what's his face? Alex from being able to see it.
Okay, you said about 2 hours ago you talked to them? Approximately, yes, ma'am, approximately. Okay, did she say what they were doing at all? No, I don't.
Elizabeth, hey
You talked to
babe.
her in person?
How you doing? Hey, left-handed RN, good to see you.
Me asking you these questions, don't slow them down, okay?
You want me to send you the link, Elizabeth? You can come up and say hi.
Is he moving at all, your son? I know you said that she was shot in the head, but what about your son? Nobody. They're not. They're going over you.
That's so odd to me, though, that they kept. Are you doing better, babe? All right.
What is your telephone number? 942-1227.
Did you get some meds?
I'm going back to my house just to get.
Hey, if you end up not coming up tonight, I got to call you in the morning, okay? Because I have a question for you.
And does anything look out of place?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not particularly, really, no ma'am. Okay.
I'm glad you're doing better, babe. I was worried. He's doing much better. Hold on, let me just pause real quick.
I will not.
All right. If that's reverb and all that is like, it's hurting my ears. So Seth, just for and let me give everybody a quick update real quick with what's going on with Olivia Chicken Eggy Pot Pie Esquire. She has on Monday, she has an appointment with the I guess transplant team. And so we'll know more about what's happening when it's happening after Monday. But it's a little up in the air, as the last that I heard from Elizabeth, that they were not sure if the stem cells transplant was going to take place in Cincinnati, Ohio, or there in Texas. But yeah, so we'll find out more on Monday. There you go. She's doing good.
Do that. He's been being threatened by my son's had a book that he's been being threatened for months and months and months. He's been hit several times and he's just finally. Do you know who was threatening your son? It's too many people.
Aw, Heather.
And you don't know the name of who was threatening him at all? My son knows. My son knows. Your son knows who was threatening him? I have another son now. Okay.
Hey, Elizabeth, before you dip, will you please make sure you give your mom a thumbs up? I'd appreciate it. You know, those thumbs up count and they keep your mama in the algorithm. All right, babe, I'll be here. I love you. Just call me when you get, hey, Tasmania calling. Oh, she switched accounts. Look at her. Hi, Tori. Well, she has a new nickname. Now it's Olivia Chicky Nuggy Pot Pie Esquire MD. Because we think she might be, we think she might be a doctor
There's
too.
a
And a
break
lawyer. It's going to be
between parts
both.
in this call. Why is that?
Like
The
Dan
way our
Broderick.
recorder system is set up, if there is a pause with either the call taker or the caller not talking, the recorder automatically cuts off. As soon as it starts to hear someone talking, it automatically kicks back on and starts
It's very
recording.
deep. Mm-hmm.
June 7th, 2021, 22 hours, 13 minutes, 58 seconds.
Well, then I want to just pause really quick for commentary because Emily's question, where is it at? Okay. This is a very astute question because when I very first heard the 911 call, obviously not in the courtroom because the ones on the documentaries, thankfully, have been cleaned up. Well, obviously, what they give the public is different than what the dispatcher has, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, when I very first heard that 911 call in the documentaries, it does sound like he's walking back and forth, which is interesting because at the end of the day, and we're not going to be able to get to it today. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm about to have to get off here in a sec. Anyway, when the last person to take the stand testifies, he goes back to like the hangar area. It's a little difficult for me to sort of I need to I know there's one online, like a document, some kind of like diagram of this area. But anyway, it sounds like he is talking about sort of by the hangar area, which is, I guess, where the kennels were. That's what they made the kennels into. I don't know. It's kind of hard to understand. But at any rate, he noted footwear impressions and he referred to them as looking like flip-flops. But what he said was that it appeared the person who left the footprints was pacing because they don't really start anywhere and they don't end anywhere. It's just like a back and forth. And of course, we didn't get to see those pictures. I wish we would have, and we probably will, just not from that specific witness. Oh, thank you, Seth. So yeah, oh yes, doctor and lawyer for sure. Tori, did you get to hit the beach yet? I'm very concerned about your ability to get to the beach. You know, I love the water, being an Aquarius and all.
Yes, they've been around with you ever since you got on the phone with me. I have multiple people coming out there to you.
Yes, Emily Flotilla. Yes. I don't know why I just said your whole name like that. I could have just called you Emily. Sorry.
Okay, can you do me a favor, Mr. Murdaugh, and turn on the flashers on your car so that way they can see where the kennels are?
When's your birthday? Mine's on Saturday. Let me just fucking make sure my daughter gave me a thumbs up. She better. Oh, she sure did.
Do you have your flashers on for me, Mr. Murdaugh? Yeah. Okay, I don't want you to touch them at all, okay? I don't know if you've already touched them, but I don't want you to touch them just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay? I already trying to get to see if they were breathing.
See? He does say it.
Okay, well, I just don't want you to move anything just in case they can get any kind of evidence, okay?
Yeah, Seth, wow, well, happy birthday. Is it her? You know who else's birthday is the 28th? Mine, yours, and AD. The armchair detective. We all have, and left-handed RN is coming up too on the 6th.
Okay, and did your son, I know you said that he had been threatened, did your son make reports of this at all? Yes, ma'am. He did? And what's your son's name? Paul.
I know, this year is going to fly by, y'all. I just know it.
Of my family. Okay. Well, then would you do me a favor for me? Whenever you see the officer or the medics, because they're all coming to you, can you put your gun in your vehicle for me? Okay. Well, we have them come in.
Spoiler alert. Thank you, Diane.
Okay.
He didn't put the gun in his vehicle like he was instructed. He leaned it up against the feed area.
Okay. All right.
Listen to them poor babies in the background. All I can hear is those dogs, and they sound upset.
22. Okay. All right, we're getting them out there to you, okay? All right.
And I know that they were upset because later, like I was
Thank you,
watching
Captain
this
Stallings. Ms. Kay
morning.
has no further questions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, there's really nothing to ask her. I mean, she's just the anyway, not just the, but there's not, she can't really, she explained what the 911 capabilities are, yada yada yada. So she's not really anything to impeach her on. Bless it. But I know those dogs were upset because I started watching this morning like everybody else, and I had it on in the bedroom, and Nestor was in the living room, and he came in the bedroom when they were on and was like, had his head cocked a little bit because he knows that the TV is not in the now. Like it's not actually, my mom had a dog. Oh God, bless her heart. Her name was Chauncey. She was a Sheltie. And she would tell me all the time, look, Jen, look how smart Chauncey is. She's trying to run behind the TV to see the dog, to see the animal on TV. And I would be like, yes, Mom, yes, Mom. And then one day I just had to break it to her. I said, Mom, the truth of the matter is that's not a sign of intelligence. She should know, because she can't smell another animal in the living room, that it is not in the now. It's not actually occurring. You see how Nestor I think it was Baxter at the time. Yeah, Baxter. You see how Baxter, because that was my black lab, how he doesn't react to dogs barking on TV. He knows that shit ain't happening right now. But there are times when Alice and Nestor and even Mac a little bit will react to animals on YouTube. Like if they're like the 911 call annoyed Nestor because he could tell that the dogs were upset. And then I forget what I was watching. Oh, they had these cat videos for videos for cats, and they're like squirrels and birds and whatnot. And yes, I did put that on for Alice and Mac. And yes, they were trying to figure out, Alice was trying to hit the TV. Mac was trying to go behind the TV, and it made me laugh until I realized that he was going to monkey around and knock my TV over. And then I had to turn it off immediately. So yeah, they are hunting dogs. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I do remember one time when we, I forget what we went to the pet store for. It wasn't to actually get an animal, obviously. It was to get something for one of them, but they did have they had cats for adoption. And one of the cats' story was that her owner had died, and that she had been in the home with a homeowner for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days before their homeowner was found. And it broke my heart. And she was just the sweetest thing. But yeah, it made me so sad. So sad. But yes, they're hunting dogs. That's what they were there for. So yeah. Anywho, that's my story for the night. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. And we'll be back at it tomorrow night. See what day 3 has in store for us on the Murdaugh trial. Yeah, it broke my heart. Her story was so sad. And the thing is, I always want to save all the animals, but I knew that my home, as much as I would love her, wouldn't be ideal for her, because that is some major trauma. And I think that, having, I don't think we had Mac then. We did. Yes, we did. So I think having 3 cats and a dog, especially because she was older and stuff and kind of set in her ways, I think that might have been too much for her. I don't think that all my love would have been worth it. There probably was a better, more compatible home where she could have been the only cat and gotten this, a ton of love and attention. So yes. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I will see y'all tomorrow night. We'll figure out, see what happens on day 3 of the trial. And then don't forget on Saturday night. So I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to premiere the video about the death of Stephen Smith. And then, it'll inside the video, like at the premiere, it'll redirect you guys, to the next, to the live after that. We'll have a live chat and we'll talk about the video and the case and just whatever, because, just a chill night. All right. All right, you guys, I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening and stay safe out on these YouTube streets and the real ones, because be getting dicey out there. All right, y'all. Bye.